When I reached out to the family of Dr. Michael Kessler, I wasn't sure anyone would respond. His name had vanished from academic circles decades ago. What little I could find about him lived in obscure forums, photocopied letters, and half-buried web archives. But I sent the message anyway, part curiosity, part desperation. A week later, I got a reply. His son, Thomas Kessler, had heard the podcast. He told me he'd grown up in the shadow of his father's research, surrounded by boxes of notes, redacted correspondence, and the occasional cassette tape. Dr. Kessler never stopped documenting what he believed. Even as his mind frayed and his language became increasingly arcane, he kept speaking. Into notebooks, into tape recorders, into the void. Thomas offered to send me some of the tapes. He said he couldn't bear to listen to them himself. Let's listen to one of the most insightful one.
They said I was mad. That's what they always say when the pattern is seen too clearly. But listen. If you are hearing this, if you're still human and not one of them, then you must understand the veil is not just metaphor. It breathes. It reacts. I have seen it shimmer like heat above asphalt, seen the cracks form and seal up in seconds. It happens in stillness, in liminality, between moments, between thoughts. They do not live in time the way we do. They graze our thoughts, not graze. They feed on belief, on orientation, on compliance. They are wardens, yes, but the prison is not steel and stone. It is perception, consciousness folded in on itself, a recursive trap. The sky is not real. The stars are codes, symbols. What you see when you close your eyes isn't imagination. It's bleed through, it's signal. I tried to leave, not physically, mentally. I tried to push past. I ended up in a place where language fails, where geometry is wrong. Something found me there. It did not speak. It impressed itself into my thoughts. It wore my father's face. It told me I was doing well. But this is a containment field. Earth, this universe, is not a cradle. It's a cell. And what we call reality is the padded wall of our asylum. They don't stop us from dreaming because they are merciful. They let us dream because the dream keeps us tame.
He rambled. Yes. But not without clarity. There was a core of something, terrifying and precise in his words. The veil as a living system, the sky as a kind of interface, a dream designed not to inspire, but to sedate. And I can't stop thinking about the part where he says they wore his father's face, that they told him he was doing well. That sounds so much like the stories I've read about mimics, entities that appear in comforting forms, only to disarm and mislead. I've had dreams like that. I never thought much of them. Until now. Dr. Kessler didn't just think we were in a simulation. He thought we were in a kind of psycho-spiritual architecture, designed to break the soul, but keep the mind intact enough to perform its role. I've been reading over the notes that came with the tapes, diagrams of fractal containment grids, references to something he called the Great Mask, a field of false archetypes that our consciousness must pass through to perceive anything. Everything we see, he wrote, is filtered through the mask, and the entities behind it, he called them watchers, mirrors, and wardens, each one responsible for a different layer of the illusion.
The watchers are the passive observers, beings that record and archive human actions, thought forms, even deviations from the norm. They never interfere directly. They are the cameras in the hallways of existence. The mirrors are more insidious. They reflect back not who we are, but what the system wants us to believe we are. They mimic loved ones, gods, aliens. They are deception incarnate, bending perception to sustain the illusion, every dream figure that seems too knowing, every coincidence that feels constructed. That's them. And then there are the wardens, the enforcers. They appear in moments of rupture when the cracks in the illusion begin to form. They're not there to repair. They're there to terrify, to confuse, to traumatize. So you step back into line. So you stop asking,
One note in particular caught me. It was written in the margins of a photocopied letter. It simply said, "If you begin to see the cracks, say nothing. They will hear you thinking." I don't know what's more disturbing, the things he says, or how true they feel. What if what we call paranormal is just an accidental glimpse of the prison wall? What if alien contact, ghosts, synchronicities are not windows to another world, but error messages in this one? Kessler was scared, not of death, but of truth, that even his own thoughts were no longer safe, that even speaking aloud could draw them nearer. Sometimes, late at night, when I listen back to these tapes, I feel something, like static behind the walls, like eyes behind the mirror. And sometimes I wonder, is the podcast helping me uncover something, or is it helping them track me? Next time, I'll explore one of Kessler's most haunting notes, his theory of the dream loop and why he believed sleep wasn't escape, but surveillance.